Greetings. Today we're going to be talking about solving polynomial equations. So this is a review. We're going to go pretty fast. I'm just going to do a few examples. But let's review the steps first. So the first thing you're going to want to do, graph it in Desmos. So whatever polynomial you have, and again we've already covered quadratics, so if you have one of those you know what to do. Anything bigger than a quadratic, cubic, and so on, you're going to graph it in Desmos first. Once you have it graphed, you're going to find the nice zeros. I've designed the problem so that at least most of them will have nice zeros. That is, the zeros will be either fractions or integers. If you look, there will be no more than 2 decimal places for the fractions. And if you get one of those, just type it in the calculator. Alright, once you have your zeros, you're going to use synthetic division to break down that polynomial until it is a quadratic. And of course, once it's quadratic, you know what to do. Mode 5-3 and move on. So let's just jump right into it. Here's our first problem we're going to look at. 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 4x minus 6. Now, it's a cubic, which means I need at least one zero from Desmos in order to break it down into a quadratic. Alright, so if I go over here, 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 4x minus 6. Alright, so if we look, we have these dots automatically on Desmos. If you hover over them, they'll give you their values. If you tap on them, they'll stay. Again, this should be a review. If you notice, we have this, negative 1.414, positive 1.414, and negative 1.5. Well, these have 3 decimal places, so those probably aren't the nice ones. We only needed 1 because it is a cubic, so go with this one, 1.5. You can turn that into a fraction by typing negative 1.5 into your calculator and hitting enter. You can also Google it. And it tells you it's negative 3/2. We don't want the mixed number, we want an improper fraction. Again, if you have the proper calculator, type it in and it will convert it instantly. Once we have it, we're going to write it down in the box, negative 3/2, that's our first zero. So this is one of our answers. We got the first answer just by the graph of Desmos, right there. Negative 1.5 is negative 3/2. Remember, for synthetic division, you put your root in the box, so whatever you're trying to divide by, and you write down your coefficients. 2, 3, negative 4, and negative 6. Make sure you don't skip any values. So we have x cubed, x squared, x, and no x's. All of those are in line, so we're good. We didn't skip anybody. But let's say this 3x squared was just missing. We'd have to make sure we put a 0 there. We don't have that, so let's move on. A refresher from synthetic division. You bring down the first number. Then you multiply negative 3/2 times 2. Use your calculator. You get negative 3. Then you combine. Use your calculator. A positive 3 and a negative 3 makes 0. Then we repeat. Multiply. Negative 3/2 times 0 is 0. Combine. Negative 4 and a positive 0 makes negative 4. Multiply. Negative 3/2 and negative 4 make positive 6. And again, use your calculator. Combine, you get 0. If you don't get a 0 right here, you screwed up. Start over. This is your remainder. We know it's going to be 0 because we graphed it and we found that the negative 1.5 was a root. So if I divide this polynomial right here by -3/2 synthetically, then we should get a nice quadratic polynomial out of it. If it was cubic, it's going to reduce to quadratic. So this becomes 2x squared, no x's, minus 4. And again, we can set that equal to 0. And since it is a quadratic, mode 5(3) to solve that. Unfortunately, I can't pull up my calculator at the moment. So that's going to be plus or minus square root of 2. Just do mode 5(3). And that would be your final answer. X equals the -3/2, the square root of 2, and the negative square root of 2. I'm perfectly fine with you using plus or minus. Just make sure you have all of your roots. Typically, if it's a cubic, you'll have 3 different answers. However, it is possible to get a double root. So if our graph were to bounce right here or something, then we'd only have 2 solutions. Alright, let's look at another example. This one. Excuse me. Alright, let's type it in. 12x to the 4th minus 71x to the 3rd plus 6x squared plus 45x plus 756. I believe that's good. Now I should see 4 roots because it's a 4th degree. I only see 2. Let me zoom out just to be safe. I still only see 2. Okay, maybe there's 2 imaginary. So since it's a 4th degree, I know I need at least 2 to make it go down to a quadratic. So hopefully these are good ones. Well, that's a 3, and that's a 5.25. Alright, so again, we're going to convert 3 to a fraction. Oh wait, it's an integer already, we're good. So the first number we're going to break it down with is 3. So first in the box is going to be 3. Write down our coefficients. Alright. Bring it down. Multiply. Combine. Negative. Multiply, negative 105. That should be negative 99. Let me not rely on my head. Yeah. Multiply. Combine. Multiply. Oops. And good, we didn't screw up. Negative 756. We get a remainder of 0, so we know we're good. Now, if we look right here, here, our other 0 is 5.25. So that's 5 1/4, but we don't want a mixed number. Use your calculator, it'll turn it into 21/4 for you. That's positive, right? Yeah. If you don't believe me, 21/4 is 5.25. So that's, I'll just move it up here. that's the next root we're going to use, and we're going to use it with these new coefficients. So same process. Don't worry about the remainder. 12, 63, I should definitely be using a calculator. 28, let me just, okay, that's 740, shoot, times 21 divided by 447. That's 100, that's going to be 48. Well, 21 divided by 4 times 48 gives us 252. Oh, good. We again did not mess up. And if we look right here, we have a quadratic. So then we'd use our calculator, modify 3, and get our solutions. Let's see, I'm sure there's an online something or other we can use. That's not a 12. 28, 48. So yeah, unfortunately, I unplugged my USB from my computer, so I can't access my calculator right now. So negative 76 plus or minus square root of 95 sixth I. That's a perfectly fine answer to me. And that's why we didn't see those other two zeros, because they are complex numbers. We're not going to see them on the graph because they're not on the real number line. So we have these two answers, plus or minus, so that's two answers right here. We have the 3, and we have the 21/4. Do keep it as an improper fraction. I don't want decimals, I don't want mixed numbers, I want improper fractions. Alright, we'll do one more example, but it's the same old, same old. Yes, I remember why I did this one. Okay, let's try this one. Again, it's 4th degree, so we're going to need to find at least 2 zeros from decimos. Eight x to the 4th. Oh, and if you're wondering, the same general keyboard shortcuts apply. Shift 6 will get you the power, or you can always hit this little keyboard right here and get all the fancy buttons. Minus 18x plus 109x squared minus 225. Is that it? I think so. Alright, and let me zoom out. I should see 4 crosses, 4 places where it crosses. Let me see 2. Okay, I guess we have 2 more imaginary solutions. That's fine. I might have to check this one, guys. That's odd. Give me a second. I guess there's a typo somewhere, either in the original problem I made or where I see it. Right there. That made a huge difference, as you can see, so I'm going to keep that mistake in there. Make sure you type it in correctly, otherwise you're screwed. So we got two nice numbers here. Let's just go ahead and zoom out and see if we see anything else. We don't. Okay, we can use these. These are nice. Negative 1.25 and 1.5. So negative 1 1/4, that's negative 5/4. Write down our coefficients. 8, negative 18, 109, negative 225. And why did I leave some space right here? Because we have 0 x's. Do not forget that we have to count every single power of x. So we have no x to the first power, so we have to put none, 0. Can't just skip it, we gotta put the 0. It'll completely and totally change everything if we don't. So just put it. Alright, so bring down that, multiply, combine, multiply, combine, multiply, 48 times, I don't know, where's my calculator? 144 divided by 4 times 5 gives me 180, and it needs to be negative. Combine, multiply, please be 225, it is, yay, and it's negative times negative, so it is positive. And if you were actually putting your signs in properly like I'm not, then you would have not had to worry about the signs. Excuse me, sorry. So yeah, that one's good, but that's only 1 0. It's down to a cubic. We need it to be a quadratic before we can use the quadratic formula. That is mode 5.3. So 1.5, that's 3 halves. I'll put that right here and repeat the whole process. Again, don't worry about the remainder. Bring it down, multiply, combine, multiply, combine. Half of that's 60 times 3 is 180, yay. And there we go. Now, I'm going to type this into that fancy online quadratic solver we found, or mode 5.3 in your calculator. But your Chromebooks will be required for this because you can't use Desmos without it. And we get 1 plus or minus the square root of 14i. Alright, so I hope that's enough explanation. I'm going to try and jump into class whenever I can. Message me on Google Classroom or GoGuardian if you have any questions. But yeah, that's about it, guys. Again, it's a review. We did this last year. It shouldn't be too terrible. But there's a recap, just so you know. Alright, have a good